Hello, I'm Claire Branton, one of the authors of the Smart Plan book, and I'm joined by the other author, Nick Davis, and we're going to talk about another one of the themes from the book in this podcast, and this is L for leadership. So Nick, I know when we first met and were working together at the John Lewis Partnership, leadership was always important then. And I know that's followed throughout the rest of your career. So you as a leader yourself, and then also in your HR roles, sourcing and developing leadership within organizations. So I know this is a really important topic for you. What we're going to do in the podcast is you're looking at how you can think about the sort of skills and style that's needed, particularly at the moment, and where we might look for inspiration for leaders that are showing us the way to go. So I know you've looked far and wide for your inspiration. So shall we start with your first example?
Hi, thanks Claire. Yes, we cast the net far and wide, actually outside of the solar system. And the first person that I want to talk about is Ellen Ripley, Lieutenant First Class. And the particular leadership trait is be flexible. So Ellen Ripley's determined, decisive, quick to decide a plan with a clear goal, draw on the skills of her team and communicate them, and then lead from the front. And whilst maintaining two really quite important things: one, continue two-way communication, and two, being flexible and agile with her plan due to changing circumstances. So all of those skills are as valid today as they will be tomorrow. The world of business is struggling to survive in the hostile environment of Planet COVID. So there's much to learn from Ellen Ripley. The quote there, well, we've got to get the other dropship from the Sulaco. I mean, there must be some way of bringing it down on remote. This is a good example of Ellen Ripley being flexible and contingent on the circumstances, and is inviting ideas and indicating that they need to be flexible to get the dropship down from the Sulaco.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect quote, and it's actually even got the reference to remote, which of course is what we're all doing now, is to think about the best ways of working remotely.
The other interesting thing about, we'll move on to the second person in a second, is that the Myers-Briggs personality inventory was applied to Ellen Ripley, and she came up with an ENFJ, which is extroverted, intuitive, feeling and judging. Just thought that would be interesting and maybe something we could discuss on another conversation.
Because again, I think both of us were introduced to the Myers-Briggs at John Lewis, and it's certainly been a really good insight for me going forward, for myself, and I always share it with other people. So yeah, definitely a topic for the future. So
okay.
Your next one.
So my next one is James Dyson, famous inventor and entrepreneur. And the leadership trait there is be a learner. He said, and I think we've got the quote, enjoy failure and learn from it. You can never learn from success. He also said, interestingly, in the digital age of overnight success, referring to your Facebooks and your Amazons, that the hard slog is often overlooked, and learning is a hard slog. By all means be learned, but maintain the learning. James Dyson's known for encouraging his team to take the difficult route rather than the obvious. And at the moment in the world, it's not that obvious which way we should lead. How do we utilize all the digital technology and electronic methods of communication? One thing we need to be is learners as well as learned. He once said that it's, sorry, go on.
No, far away.
He once went on to say that it's no good saying you don't understand computers, and went on to decry the inverted snobbery of allegedly cerebral bankers and investors who boasted they couldn't put a screw in a wall, or they only knew how to put petrol in their car. I mean, the modern equivalent is remote working and the technology around it is going to become more and more prevalent. And it's a fairly extraordinary state of things to boast about the fact you can't put a screw in a wall. Get to know your technology, get to know the difference between Zoom, Google Hangouts, certainly Zoom Pro and Google Hangouts, and find out what the difference between a web conference and a video conference is, because they are becoming more nuanced and grey, but there is a difference.
Yeah, and and as a leadership skill, it's a great way of engaging with your team, isn't it? Because those examples you've given, you're going to be asking those questions and learning from your team. And that quote is really of the moment, because so much of the way we run projects now and the way we do project design is about test and learn and iterate. So, and he's just been a shining example of what you can end up with, isn't he? Okay.
So just to finish with James Dyson, he nothing is more prized in his organisation than the willingness to generate new ideas, take chances, and even to fail. And at the start of his career, he famously said that conventional wisdom be damned. Conventional wisdom is very much the learned side of things, which obviously is important, but continue to maintain the learning, be open to it.
Yeah, and especially in the situation we're in now, like there's so many unknowns. How can you do anything other than do some test and learn? Okay, I think a popular choice for this last one.
Okay, so the last leadership trait is be authentic, and the person I'm going to briefly chat about is Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand. She's given us a slightly different glimpse of leadership during the COVID crisis. At one of her early press conferences, she thanked her team of 5 million and said COVID was a war that could be won, but only by acting together.
Brilliant.
She took a 20% pay cut without the usual prompting from the media and the opposition. So we've noticed she's always been direct, articulate, consistent about her strategy. Early in her office, she had to deal with the Christchurch shootings, terrible tragedy, putting kindness, compassion and honesty into the leadership arena. And it's that authenticity that's been a constant trait of hers since the election.
Yeah.
She reacted with massive speed to change New Zealand's gun laws in a way that other world leaders must have been in awe of. And that's what you can do when you work together. And the quote was, I believe, from when she was being asked if she was assertive enough. And she said, I refuse to believe you cannot be compassionate and strong. Yeah. So that's the final of the 3 leaders and the final of the 3 leadership traits.
And I think that compassionate and strong is particularly relevant now, isn't it? Because it does need strong leadership. But I think the leaders that are really showing through are the ones that are showing some compassion as well. I also like the fact that you've got be authentic, because as you know, that's a really important thing for me. And I think, you know, these examples are inspiration. So at the end of the day, you've got to find your own style, but there's all different ways. There's reading books, there's watching, and, you know, I'm sure you would recommend the whole Alien suite of films to watch, but, you know, and there's people that you've worked with or, you know, that can give you those insights into the sorts of skills and styles that you'd like to incorporate into your own style, but it's got to be authentic, isn't it? That's the thing. So those are your 3 key skills for the moment.
Yeah.
So be flexible, be a learner, be authentic, and I think there's kind of a link really between all of them, isn't there? You know, you can be more flexible if you're prepared to have a bit of failure and learn from it, and you want to work with your team, and the best way of working with your team is them knowing that you are an authentic person and what they're getting. You know, there's a sense of reality with.
But it was good. It's good for us as well, because we finished the book over a year ago with a focus on project management and learn your lessons from the other people's mistakes, which was obviously Brexit. And now COVID's come along, and we've had to be flexible and agile, and we've had to learn what's going on, and on a day-by-day basis. You know, we were only just talking before we started this about what's been going on in politics today. Anyway, that's it for now.
Okay. Thank you. And so this gets posted on LinkedIn and the Smart Plan YouTube channel. So please leave comments there. I'm on LinkedIn, Nick's on LinkedIn. But I think with this particularly, we'd love to see some comments back with the people that inspire you from a leadership point of view. So as Nick's demonstrated, you can cast your net very wide here, including different universes. But just have a think about some of the skills you've seen and admired, and share those with us. That'd be really interesting. Thanks, Nick. Speak to you soon.
Thank you, Claire. Speak to you soon.